Bianca, throughout the programme, but also I want to turn to the Mueller report now. To impeach or not to impeach is a question the Democrats are discussing on a conference call led by Nancy Pelosi today. Now, in light of the Mueller report, some top Democrats have already said that they believe there's enough evidence that the president obstructed justice to launch an impeachment.
Yeah, Mr. Trump, not surprisingly, disagrees with that assessment. Only high crimes and misdemeanors, he tweeted today, can lead to impeachment. There were no crimes by me, no collusion, no obstruction, so you can't impeach. Whatever the legality, impeachment does carry political risks for Democrats who could be seen to overplay their hand. Let's get the thoughts of former Assistant U.S. Attorney Kim Wehle. Kim, of course, you worked on the Starr report and the impeachment, the special prosecution, the impeachment of that led to the impeachment of Bill Clinton. Do you think, from what you've read of the Mueller report, all 448 pages of it, that there are legal grounds for Democrats to launch impeachment proceedings against Donald Trump?
There's no question that there are legal grounds. The president can tweet about high crimes and misdemeanors, but as a legal matter, the standard for impeachment is lower than the standard that was applicable to Mr. Mueller's conclusions. So even if there's no conspiracy, there could be a determination that there's collusion sufficient for impeachment. When I say collusion, Mr. Barr used that as a term, a legal term. It's not a legal term. Impeachment is a political determination. And with respect to obstruction of justice, a careful reading of the report does not suggest that Mr. Mueller found there was not sufficient evidence. He just found, as a matter of the Constitution and DOJ policy, he couldn't actually indict. So in that instance, the only alternative would be a political alternative, which is, at this moment, impeachment. Barring that, it would be in November, not electing him to a second term of office. That is Mr. Trump.
OK, so Nancy Pelosi has sent a letter to Democrats in which she talks about the responsibility of the legislative branch to conduct oversight of the president. She also says that it's important to know that the facts regarding holding the president accountable can be gained outside of impeachment hearings. Nancy Pelosi reluctant, it seems, to go ahead with the impeachment standard. I think a lot of people will be watching all of this, listening to you just now, Kim, and saying, well, hold on a second. If there is a legal case for impeachment, aren't the Democrats duty-bound to follow that legal path where it leads them?
Well, the duty-bound argument makes sense in that under these circumstances, when we have a hostile foreign power having attacked our electoral process and the president taking steps to obstruct the investigation into that attack on our electoral process, that if that doesn't give rise to at least a reason to start the process, what does? And if you don't start the process, we might as well not have an impeachment clause in the Constitution itself. It becomes essentially irrelevant. The flip side to that is a political one, which is with the impeachment of Bill Clinton, for example, he became more, I think, politically attractive after the impeachment process. And so I think the Democrats are worried that it could backfire. And any good prosecutor will decide not to go forward with a case, even if they believe someone did something wrong, if they can't convict. And in this moment, there doesn't seem to be the votes in the Senate to actually impeach Mr. Trump, because the Senate is controlled by Republicans. And impeachment is essentially a trial in Congress. It's very similar to a prosecution in a court. It's just that the standard is lower and the jury is the Senate, not regular people. And so I think the Democrats, it's difficult to go forward if they don't think they have the votes to impeach. And then, as I said, it could end up being a worse outcome in 2020, November 2020, than if they just continued with their investigations.
So that sounds like you would not consider it wise to pursue, if I've understood correctly from what you're saying. But Speaker Pelosi, she was talking about other ways of bringing him to justice or following his behaviour unethical, as she called it when she talked about the president. What would they be if they're not impeachment?
Well, I mean, my professional view is I think the Senate, the Republicans, just to clarify, should take impeachment very seriously. I think it's unfortunate that the Republicans in Congress are just in lockstep with the president, regardless of broader questions of accountability. But as far as other ways that Congress can hold this president accountable, I think what she's indicating is that the oversight hearings, obtaining the full Mueller report, obtaining his tax returns, obtaining his financial records, and having those facts play out in the Congress and made available to the American public so that Congress can either decide to enhance some kind of legislation over this White House and over White Houses going forward, or B, the American public can decide based on the facts that, listen, we don't want a second term of this particular man, or at a minimum, this level of drama. We want to move forward with the country in a positive direction. I think that's what she's suggesting, that airing the laundry in the political process is necessary. And I would agree with her from a legal standpoint and a constitutional standpoint.
Okay, Kim Wehle, thank you very much for joining us.